everybody. I've got another battle report here for you. My friend came over, wanted to play his Warriors of Chaos, and he has a brand new painted giant there that he's never played with, so he's pretty happy to do that. I obliged him, threw up 2250 points of vampires, and I was actually working on this custom model of the Vargolf myself. It's not my idea. I saw this on the Vampire Counts forum, Carpe Noctem. Somebody had used Balrog wings from the Lord of the Rings game. So I did that and am working on a custom model. You can see he's getting base painted there. He's not done yet, but that's what he looks like. But I gotta tell you, those wings look really cool on the battlefield. So we had a third friend come by to watch the game, and he set up the board as an impartial thing. And he rolled up the scenario and all the buildings and everything. But we got Dawn Attack, which kind of hurt. I mean, I got to be pretty condensed, but it wasn't how I wanted to deploy. So there were some deployment issues here, basically, is what I'm saying. Right to left, I've got some dogs, 35 zombies, 20 zombies in a bunker for my level 4 necromancer. He knows vampires. 40 skeletons in a Strigoi Ghoul King. A corpse cart with balefire upgrade on it. I'm trying a Coven Throne, and I've got my Vamp Hero level BSB up there. See how that goes. I got a Terrorgeist, 25 Graveguard with the Banner of the Barrows, 5 more dogs, and my Vargolf. You can see here I had some deployment issues with the dogs. I won't be able to Vanguard because they came on after the Vargolf, so they're kind of blocked. Then I've got this last guy's the Spirit Host on the flank here. On the Chaos side, he has his Giant, his Hell Cannon, Warriors with extra hand weapon. They're all frenzied, and he has his level 4 Sorcerer in there. Then he has a horde of 40 Marauders with great weapons, 12 more Warriors, 10 of his dogs, and then 5 Knights. So he gets to go first. The Giant tries to charge the dogs, but it's a pretty long charge. He fails, rolls Snake Eyes, and only moves an inch. The Hell Cannon passes his leadership test, so it gets to act normally, and the Warriors and Marauders move up. The dogs and Knights here start racing up the flank. You know, he's got a lot of power on the flank here. He's got to get it in because I have like 1 vampire unit, so he's got to race past. And then, yeah, like I said, the Warriors and Marauders move up toward the forest. So during Magic, it's 8 die to 7. His lower level caster that he has in the Marauders, I think he has a level 1 in there, casts Magnificent Buboes and ends up doing a wound to the Terrorgeist. And then his higher level sorcerer, level 4, casts Infernal Gateway, throws all the rest of his dice at it, and I throw all my 6 dice at it. I think 6 or 7. I throw everything, and I roll nothing but 1s and 2s. He gets 9 hits, but they're only strength 4, and I was able to, between him not being able to wound with them and regen, I only had one other wound comes through. Then during shooting, the Hell Cannon aims at the Terrorgeist, but it drifts off harmlessly. So Terrorgeist survives its round of focus. This is what it looks like at the end of the turn, basically. He's coming around on the flank. So Vampire turn 1 is pretty confusing movement. Here's what I want to do. This will kind of explain it. I want to ignore the left flank as best I can, which means hitting the right in the middle. So I'm going to move my zombies up, try to tar pit that giant. I moved my skeleton bunker into the building, and I'm going to use a movement trick just to hop out and get some extra movement. I've got my Terrorgeist moving around to the left side of the building because there are no juicy targets he can scream at right now that won't really threaten him getting charged by scary, scary guys. Otherwise, the Corpse Cart, the Coven Throne, the Graveguard, they're all moving up to the right flank, right side of the building there. And that's about it. So, during the Magic phase, it's 4 dice to 2. I really only have 1 shot to get a spell off, so I throw all at Van Hell's, the Area of Effect version, and get it off, which is great because it means I get to have even more confusing movement. So my zombies are even closer to targeting up that giant. I've able to move my dogs around, so now his warriors can't come forward really and get into anyone unless they charge the dogs. And when they charge the dogs, being frenzied, they're going to overrun and they'll expose their flank to me. So I'm happy about that. I leave my guys in the building because I don't want them getting charged yet. And then the Coven Throne and the Corpse Cart are ready to charge in. The Graveguard are ready to charge in at some point. So I'm feeling really good about that Van Hell's movement. Here's what the other flank looks like. I charged the Spirit Host on the right there into the dogs to hold them up. And during combat, don't do any wounds. So we go to Chaos 2. Warriors charge the dogs, as we expect, and the Marauders just move up to the forest, but not in. On this side, the Warriors charge the Spirit Hosts, and now it's going to be over, and the Warriors behind just move up. I think I said Warriors. I meant the Knights charge the Spirit Host, and the Warriors move up. The Giant tries a long charge on the Terrorgeist because, let's face it, it's a really juicy target, and he fails. So he just moves forward a little bit. During Magic, it's 5 dice to 5 dice, and he throws all of them at Infernal Gateway on the Terrorgeist. And once again, I throw all mine and roll really, really poorly. Bunch of 1s and 2s, and it ends up being 6 hits at Strength 3, and one of them wounds the Terrorgeist. During shooting, the Hell Cannon aims at the Terrorgeist again and drifts off. During close combat, the Spirit Host crumbles and the Knights overrun, as is expected. The dogs get punked by the Frenzied Warriors, and they overrun as I wanted, which would give me that flank charge. So we go to Vampire turn 2. The zombies make a charge against the Giant super tar pit. I'm very excited about that, because I do not want that Giant in any meaningful combats. The Corpse Cart and the Coven Throne charge the flank of the Warriors. I thought this was going to be really good. I thought this was going to be decisive. Those Warriors are scary, but I'm charging them on the flank. I've got some leadership stuff. I've got a magic phase to come and help support. I thought this was going to be fairly decisive. It ends up not being, but just so you know, that's what I was thinking. I thought impact hits and all that, I'm just going to pop these guys and refocus on the middle. This is going to be good. Doesn't exactly work out that way. So, during Magic, I try to cast off. I don't remember what the dice was, but I knew that he wasn't going to want me healing that Terrorgeist. He's focused on it and doesn't want anything on it. So I'm like, okay, I will try to heal the Terrorgeist, and I know he will use his Dispel dice on that, which is exactly what he does. I draw those Dispel dice out, which is perfect. Then I use the remaining dice, he has none, and I cast Van Hels on the Corpse Cart, which lets it re-roll its misses, and that triggers Always Strike First for both the Corpse Cart and the Coven Throne. And then finally, with the last die, I use the Scrying Pool on the Coven Throne to re-roll my wounds. So now everyone's re-rolling everything, and I'm pretty happy about it. Or I assume. Actually, what ends up happening is there's a BSB in there with Always Strike First. So when the challenges throw out, there's some lack of re-rolling gets to happen, but it's still a great Magic phase for me. I'm very happy. In close combat, I killed 2 with the impact hits. This Chaos BSB challenges the Coven Throne, and I was pretty sure I had to accept, but I accepted anyway. It just didn't really know what the right answer was there. The Vamp is a BSB, but he's only Leadership 7. And so what ends up happening with the whole Coven Throne thing, because he's Leadership 7 and he's giving off a -1 Leadership aura to these guys, they're 8, but it's 7 on 7. So the Coven Throne thing really never comes in my favor very much, because it's just a straight D6 roll to a D6 roll, so that kind of sucks. And this ends up being a very defensive brawl here. I don't think any wounds go out besides the impact hits. Maybe I kill one more. I put a wound on the BSB is what happened. And all in all, just a few chaos die. The BSB takes a wound, they hold, and they reform. And I'm like, uh-oh, shoot, that's not what I wanted to happen. Over here, a bunch of zombies die, which is what I want to happen. And then we go to Chaos 3. Well, the Marauders charge the Graveyard, they go through the forest. A few of them still have poison attacks, and a few, I don't know if any of them, 1 or 2 might have died from difficult terrain, I think. But it's kind of what I expected. His dogs charge up the flank here into mine, and then his Knights move up. Picture of what the board looks like after movement. During Magic, he casts Magnificent Buboes on the Terrorgeist again, but I dispel it. He casts Infernal Gateway on the Terrorgeist, and I end up using my Dispel Scroll. I didn't want to, but I just didn't want to. I didn't want to lose the Terrorgeist yet, so I used the scroll. And then he casts Call to Glory on the Warrior unit. But with just the few dice I have left, I roll really well and dispel that, so there's no extra hero in the Warriors. 3 dogs die / crumble due to combat here. In fact, I even think I killed one, but we stick around, so that's good. The Giant gets Yell and Brawl here, which is just the best for me because it means I just crumble by 2. because I believe he wins combat by 2, and that's just the way CR goes. So if that's just what's going to happen over and over, I'm fine with that. Those zombies will be around forever at that point. This is a really poor round of combat for me over here. Just awful. Like, I can't hit anything, even with my rerolls. It's just awesome. Awful. My vampire takes a wound, and I don't remember all the specifics, but basically what ends up happening is I lose combat by 4. So the Coven Throne is sitting on 4 wounds, my vampire is on 1, and the corpse cart just crumbles to dust. And it was just pretty bad. Those guys are also pretty brutal. As you see in the middle here, this is the next turn, but I don't have a good picture for it. I lost about half my Grave Guard, and he lost about 7 or so Marauders, I think. Most of the Grave Guard here are missing because of Crumble after combat, I think. You know, it's pretty much what I expected. I want to do a little bit better, but you know, he's pretty scary. My guys have great weapons, as so does his. So on Vampire turn 3, my Varghulf charges in the flank of the Marauders. That's really going to help, I think. My Skeleton and Surgoy Ghoul King unit had been stuck in the building for a while, and now it was very apparent there was no place they were going to get to go. They can't leave on the zombie side. There's really no room. Plus, there's nothing for them to do or charge. And those Marauders are like right at the building. In fact, they hit the building and bounced off it when they overran earlier. So he's coming back out and is going to get into this right flank. Since the Knights are coming around there, that's where the action's going to be. However, I need to tar pit up those Knights coming in and deal with them on my own time. So what I do is I send the zombie bunker forward and then move the Necromancer into the Skeletons group. So that's why there's that double arrow there. And I'll just grow up those zombies as my plan. My Terrorgeist doesn't really have much he can do in the middle of all this combat. It's really tight in there, and he'd be kind of threatened. So, you know, the rules as written say that the Terrorgeist can scream into close combats that he's not involved in, but that's not how we think it was meant to be, so we play it as he can't. If he's not going to get into any of those combats and charge in, then I'm just going to move him down here and scream at these guys. And this is a little out of order, but he ends up screaming very well. Even with 4 wounds on him, I still kill 6 warriors. I think I rolled like boxcars or whatever is needed. Very close. So that was awesome. In Magic, it's 11 dice to 7, giving me a nice lead. So I try to cast Invocation of the Heck with a level 1 vampire with 4 dice. My thought is he'll see heal, and he'll freak out again and try to dispel it, and it's only the level 1, so that'll just draw out a lot of his dispel dice, and I'll feel good about that. But I failed to cast, so instead of baiting him out, I lose all my dice advantage, and now we're even. So that's no good. So knowing he has a dispel scroll left, I throw 6 of my remaining dice. I think I only had 7 left, or maybe only 6, I can't remember. I throw him at Invocation of the Heck from the Necromancer. And he miscasts. So I heal up 9 Graveguard, which is good, and I raise 12 zombies. And then I heal the Vamp, the wound that, with the lore attribute, the Vampire BSB on the Coven Throne. But then the miscast goes off, and he uses the Infernal Puppet to move my miscast result over to Dimensional Cascade, which ends up killing a bunch of skeletons and sucking the Necromancer into the void. So that was a little crazy, and he earned some points there. And then I think I had, 1 die left, and my Coven Throne tried to cast the reroll wounds or reroll hits, and I think he dispelled it with 7 dice. That was kind of funny. During shooting, as I already said, the Terrorgeist screamed, killed 6 warriors, and in close combat, the Varghulf helps win combat here by 3, but Chaos the Marauder sticks around and reform. The Coven Throne here ends up killing the BSB, but it's locked in. I can't remember if this happens, if he just killed him now, or if he killed him the turn before. I think he just killed him now, but eventually what's going to happen is he gets challenged by the Sorcerer, who also has to challenge, and so he's in a challenge with him, and these warriors just stand by the whole rest of the game not doing anything while we try to slug it out. It's a little funny. And I guess we're just here. Sorry, I'm looking over my notes at the same time. The Giant, he kills a bunch more zombies, but they're still holding them up, so I'm feeling good there. And the dogs beat my dogs, and then they reform. So I don't have a lot of picks here. I kind of got more focused on the game, so I've tried to piece together what I have. You'll have to kind of imagine some of these. The Hell Cannon fails its leadership and moves forward. This is a picture after combat when the giant gets jump up and down and just destroys all the remaining zombies, no problem. But he has taken one wound, so I'm fairly happy I actually got to wound him with a zombie. This is an on picture. It's showing multiple turns here, but what ends up happening, again, I was excited and paying attention to the game, so I wasn't taking all the pictures I should have for the battle report. But the knights charge the flank of the Graveguard, and they're not quite touching the zombies, so they're only in combat with the Graveguard there, which is good for me. During magic, he fails to cast Buboes on the Terrorgeist again, and I let Infernal Gateway go because he's targeting the skeleton unit, and I don't care if I lose the skeletons right now, that's fine. There is a chance, and I've sweated over this, if he rolls an 11, it's 2d6 hits at 2d6 strength. So if he rolls the second 2d6 for the strength, that's an 11 or 12, it just kills the unit completely. So I was a little worried about losing my general there and losing the whole game, but I decided to let it go, and it ended up just doing some wounds, so it wasn't a big deal. There was no shooting. And in close combat, the knights, as you'd expect, they've charged in on the Graveguard. They clean house, and I only lose combat, though, by 2 after laying into the Marauders, and that Vargolf helping, and Thunderstomp has just really helped save me. So being within 12 inches of the BSB, it mitigates my crumble by 1, so just the Vargolf gets a wound, and the Graveguard crumble 1. This is a picture before all the wounds are removed. And then I win the Coven Throne fight with the Sorcerer, who's in a challenge, but he sticks around. So now this is what Vampire Turn 4 looks like, and that's what the red arrow symbolizes. I charge my Strigoi Ghoul King and my skeletons into the newly made gap, now that there are not as many Graveguard there, and slam into the knights. So it's one massive, massive combat. In Magic, I only have 2 level 1s, so I try to cast Invocation on the Strigoi Ghoul King with a few dice. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't too many dice, but he uses his Dispel scroll on it, which was kind of funny. And then, yeah, I don't know what happened with the rest. I guess I threw it all at the Invocation of Nehek on that one guy, and it was dispelled. The other vampire didn't do anything, I guess. Must have had too few dice. And during shooting, I scream at the warriors, but it doesn't do any wounds since he has 4 wounds on him. He doesn't roll high enough. In close combat, the Strigoi Ghoul King kills 2 of these warriors, even with their blasted 1-up armor save. He got really lucky. There is actually, at the end of this, only 1 Graveguard left, and he turns and kills another one of the knight, rolling Killing Blow, so we're bypassing that awesome 1-up armor save, and they lose combat. The knights stick, but the Marauders run, and the Vargolf chases them down. And so it's tough to see here, but there is 1 Graveguard that you can't see at the top, and then there's skeletons, and the zombies are not in combat. And the Marauders are gone, and the Vargolf's up off the board. This picture just shows that the Terrorgeist was playing Keep Away and Scream at the Warriors, trying to get some points. I don't remember when the dogs moved up here. They must have done it a little while ago, or why. I think he was just trying to give someone to go after the Terrorgeist to help, because they were just pestering the warriors, but that's where the Vargolf ended up. So on his turn, the Hell Cannon moves up so it can position for flank charge on the Coven Throne. We've gone through so many rounds of combat here with nothing happening that it could go either way, but he wants to make it decisive, which is a pretty good move. The Giant doesn't have much to do, so he starts making his way to the middle. The warriors here made a long charge onto the Vargolf right through the woods. I think one of them might have died, but all in all, it doesn't matter, because in Magic he casts Call to Glory, making one of the just normal rank and file just some elite bastard. And in close combat, they just destroy the Vargolf before he's able to go, completely annihilate him, and overrun. It was just an immense amount of attacks, but it was kind of fun to watch. So then they overrun, and that's where they end up. We go into Vamp turn 5. Things are going pretty quick here. I cast Invocation. There's really no movement. I cast Invocation of Nehek, which gets dispelled, so no extra healing or anything. In shooting, I scream the dogs to death with the Terrorgeist off camera, and the Coven Throne finally kills the 3-up ward save sorcerer. That's why he was holding so much, is that he was really defensively kitted. He had a 3-up ward save, and I think he had like a 4-up armor. So just the Pallid Handmaidens and everything, they just weren't getting any through to him. During the first half of the game, I didn't realize that I had 2 Pallid Handmaidens. I was only attacking with 1. Once I realized that, it helped make that thing a little more powerful. So eventually, after the sorcerer dies, the warriors break, and I run him down, which is awesome because now I've gotten out of the way of the Hell Cannon, and he's not going to just lap up that very wounded Coven Throne. Off screen, the knights kill the last Graveguard, which earns them the points for the entire unit, and then everyone's still sticking around and standing there. Not too much change otherwise. We talked about this because we ran into an issue. As you can see here, the Strigoi Ghoul King is not in contact with the knights, and as far as we can tell from the book, Make Way happens at the first during the first turn of combat, not in subsequent rounds. So because he can't make way, we're like, well, how can he get into combat? And then we also ruled, we had a question about challenge, because the Strigoi Ghoul King was challenging, but the warrior wanted to decline, but since there was no place for him to go, it said that characters had to accept if there was no place for them to go hide. But it didn't say that. We had a discussion, did that mean that the champions were treated as characters in that? And we ruled that yes, an upgraded command group champion has to be treated like a character. He has to, if he can't hide and get away from combat, he has to accept the challenge, which is the only reason that my Strigoi Ghoul King was able to keep participating in the combats. So if anybody knows about that, I guess my question is, are you allowed to make way with your characters in every round of combat? Excuse me, or is that only in the beginning? And in a situation like this, is your big combat guy just out of the combat? Anyway, let me know. Post a comment if you know. I'd appreciate that. All right, where was I here? So we're on Chaos 6. The opponent charges into the flank of the skeletons here with the Hell Cannon, as you can see. That's going to go up good. I mean, I got out of the way with the Coven Throne, but yeah, it's going to be kind of brutal for the rest of this group. No, just easily punking those knights and getting out of there. He tries to charge a giant into the Terrorgeist for the points, since we're coming up on the end of the game here pretty quick, but he doesn't make it. And then also the Warriors try to, I guess you go back here, the Warriors try to charge the Coven Throne, and they didn't make it. So in close combat, I lose a bunch of skeletons, but there is one skeleton left. You can kind of see his base. There's one skeleton left, and my Strigoi Ghoul King, who is still in a challenge with the Knight Champ. In a Hail Mary on my turn, I try to cast Invocation of the Heck from the Ghoul King, and I roll 6 die, to heal himself. Or actually, I rolled it to heal the Terrorgeist, who was in range, because I didn't want to heal the skeletons. That would give him more juicy targets for combat res. So I try to heal the Terrorgeist. I get Irresistible Force, so it heals the Terrorgeist 2 wounds. It's 1 plus the signature ability. And then he doesn't have the puppet anymore, and I roll 7 on the chart, which does a Strength 10 hit to everyone in base contact. So both knights die. The Strigoi Ghoul King is fine, and he wasn't in base contact with the Hell Cannon, but he was with the skeleton. So I killed my last skeleton, giving him the points, but I did kill those 2 knights, which is awesome. So then the Ghoul King just kind of shimmies over to stay in combat. I thought that was really funny, and especially because I killed the guy with the puppet. He couldn't use it to keep his knights alive. So I laughed about that one quite a bit. The newly healed Terrorgeist, he's only down 2 wounds now, moves up and screams, but only kills 2. I rolled kind of poorly, so I'm not going to get the points for those guys, sadly. And this is it. This is the end of the game. What ended up happening is I took 2 wounds from the Hell Cannon, and he took 1. I think maybe I took 1 and crumbled 1. I forget how it went, but at the end, my general was alive, and thank God this game ended when it did, because, well, we tallied up the points. I ended up winning by about 200, a little over 200 points, but had we gone on even another instant in the game beyond turn 6, all of my units would have probably died, with the exception of the zombie group. Like, my Coven Throne was going to get killed, my Terrorgite's going to get killed, and my General was going to be gone. So, I mean, I feel like I technically squeaked out a win here, but if you had just walked in the room and saw the battle, you would have put down any money on Chaos, because I just won by the time limit there. But it was a really fun game. Lots of bloody combat. We had some really defensive, awful getting tied up with the Coven Throne. And he didn't really perform like I thought. It's really expensive to put a Lord up there, and at 2250 we didn't have enough points to have a Lord and a Coven Throne. But having just a Vamp up there with Leadership 7, even with his -1, it really didn't do anything the whole game. The Coven Throne itself was a very defensive chariot. With a 4-up ward, a 5-up armor, it was way better than the regen on the Mortis engine, but it really couldn't do. I mean, it had some decent attacks, but like that leadership thing didn't do anything. So that was a little bit of a downer for me. I'd like to play with it a few more times and try to take like Lore of Shadows or just something that can help lower the leadership on the other side, because I just don't see it as coming into play that much. But it was a great game, really close right at the end, a big bloody slugfest. And at the end, the Vampires won. So thanks for watching.